Okay, so if you're looking for quick sketchbook inspiration, then maybe this is the video for you. I visited the beach at the weekend and there were some mountains in the background, and I just felt like I wanted to come into my studio and try and capture some of what I'd seen. Actually, I didn't take a photograph, but these are very loosely based on what I saw, and I wanted to do some quite quick paintings. It was very hot and the paint was drying very quickly, so it was quite challenging. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but let's get going. Okay, so for my first one, I'm just taping the side of my sketchbook because I'm not going to go above or below that line, and I'm using indigo blue for this first one. And here I'm just painting in the shape of a mountain, but I know that I'm going to get some water and be pulling that up afterwards. So here I come with my clean water and I'm just running my brush across the top of that paint and it's pulling it upwards. And I'm going to use a similar technique for all of them, although I do have a change of colour after this one. I wanted to try and capture this sort of turquoise colour of the sea. This is Phylo turquoise, and as you can see, I'm not going over the paint too much, and as I talked about before, it's very hot and the paint is drying very quickly, so I do find myself having to work quite quickly. And I'm going to follow the same basic steps for every painting, but I'm responding to what the paint does on the paper, which isn't always predictable, and that's why they're all turning out slightly differently. And I quite like this way of working. It's sort of quick and it loosens you up, and it's quite fun. So when I put those mountains in the top, they started to sort of feather quite a bit at the top, but I could tell that paint was drying. So what I then decided to do was put this harder line on top, and that's just an example of responding to what's happening on the paper. And here I'm just adding a bit more turquoise just to break up that foreground a bit. I'm just using the end of my brush to score in some lines there, and just tidying up that edge where the indigo is seeping down into the turquoise. Okay, so that's done. Time to take off the tape. And for the next one, I decided that I really just felt like doing a uniform colour, so I abandoned the indigo and I actually mixed cerulean blue with Paynes grey, because this is a mix that I've wanted to be trying out for a while. And as you can see, as I said, I'm following the same steps at the beginning, but the actual painting does turn out to be slightly different. I mean, obviously I'm just using one colour, but also just the moves I made were slightly different as I kind of responded to what the paint was doing on the page. Just going to put the music up for a little bit now. Okay, so like I said, it's quite hot, so that paint is drying quite quickly. So I actually used a brush made for acrylic to lift that paint off and to get it to blend up into the sky. So whether it's hot or not, this is a good tip. If your paint has dried a bit more, then a harder brush made for acrylics just helps to lift the paint a bit better than a softer watercolour brush would. Now what I really like about this mix of cerulean blue and Paynes grey is that the cerulean blue is actually separating out slightly from the Paynes grey. I don't know if you can see it at the horizon line, but I really like that effect. So that is a nice surprise because I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so as I've been doing this sort of lifting technique, I'm going to continue to do that a bit more on this painting, and I've put quite a dark line underneath, but I know I'm going to be lifting this off with my brush, with my harder brush. So this is another example of where you sort of start off in one direction, but as you carry on with your painting, you might vary your techniques as you go along, and it's a really great way to get used to watercolours and to try out different things, but within the constraints of one simple idea. Okay, I'm just going to put the music up for a little bit here. Okay, so I decided to add a bit of detail into that white line in the middle, and I think I just changed brushes here to get a thinner one. I'm just putting a dark line as a kind of focal point across that white area, so I want to make it look as if maybe there's a piece of land there, but then the sun is reflecting on the water around it. Okay, so this is done now. I'm going to take the tape off, and actually I didn't film this bit, just the end part, but I put some tape there and I just got some water and just removed some of the paint from the top and bottom just to make that a bit more of a nice sort of rectangle. Okay, so for the next one I carried on with the Cerulean and Paynes grey mix, and I'm just going to put the music up, and I'll just put some text to describe what I'm doing at each stage. And this one turned out differently again to the other ones, but I am following the same steps roughly, so these steps hopefully will relate to all these paintings I've done, and you could do something similar or vary it a bit. Okay, and I'll jump in again when I do the last painting. Okay, so I was really happy with how this one turned out as well, and time to take the tape off now. So for the fourth and final one, I'm going to whiz through it at lightning speed, because I was actually getting a bit tired probably at this point, and I used too much water, and I wanted to leave it in just to show that I did use too much water and what can happen if you do use too much water. I sort of lost control a bit of the paint, and instead of trying to rectify it, which I could have done, I decided to stop the painting session. But I just wanted to show this one because I think it's important to show that not everything always turns out exactly how you want it to, and that's okay. That's just part of the painting process and the learning process. Okay, so I really hope you've enjoyed this demonstration. If you did, then please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. If you leave a comment or a question, I respond to all the comments, and I've got quite a few other similar videos on my channel showing really simple watercolour paintings, many of them in blue. So I'll put links to those in the description, and I'll try to have a link to a specific one at the end of this video, although sometimes that seems to change. I need to work that one out. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!